It was late 1944. Victory, though agonizingly slow, felt within grasp. Here, beneath the constant threat of VU weapons, the Allied powers, Britain, America, and the Soviet Union shared intelligence, coordinated strategy, and projected a united front against the crumbling Third Reich. The unity felt increasingly like a fragile veneer. Her expertise lay in decoding encrypted German communications, a relentless puzzle where every piece held life-or-death significance. Recently, however, a new layer of complexity had been added: the cryptic dance with their Soviet allies. His eyes, the color of a winter sky, revealed nothing. He spoke fluent, if stiff, English, and his reports were always meticulously prepared, devoid of emotion, and just vague enough to leave Eleanor with an unsettling sense of what wasn't being said. Their nations were allies, fighting the same enemy. Yet a pervasive shadow seemed to fall between their desks, a whisper of a future conflict that was already taking shape. The mission was critical. Pinpointing the location of a new, highly destructive German rocket fuel synthesis plant deep within enemy territory was meant to confirm details and provide a clearer picture of defenses. Eleanor spread out a recent aerial photo, tracing a potential rail line. "Our intel suggests a major bottleneck here," she indicated, tapping a point on the map. "The one you suggest is heavily mined." His voice was flat, authoritative. Eleanor frowned. "The thermal signatures from our last flyover contradict that. We're seeing heavy activity, consistent with large vehicle movement, right here." She pointed again. The discrepancy was small, yet persistent. It was like this often. Minor contradictions, subtle shifts in data, always favoring a Soviet narrative that occasionally seemed designed to obscure as much as it revealed. Was it operational security or something more? The engineer hinted not just at a new fuel type, but at a sophisticated guidance system, potentially adaptable for other long-range projectiles. This technology, Eleanor realized with a chilling certainty, would be as valuable in a post-war world as it was in the current conflict. "Major," Eleanor began, her voice carefully controlled, "this intelligence suggests the Germans are closer to a truly devastating weapon than we initially thought. We need all information on any existing research facilities, past or present, even if they're abandoned, for the safety of everyone." Anatoly steepled his fingers, his eyes unblinking. "All relevant information has been shared, Captain. Our primary objective is the destruction of the Nazi war machine, not the cataloging of its scientific curiosities. Such pursuits can distract from the main goal." The dismissal was polite but absolute. Eleanor knew he was holding something back. The Soviets had a reputation for snatching up German scientists and technology as their forces advanced. Was this about denying the West access, rather than simply destroying the threat? The true test came unexpectedly during a particularly vicious V2 attack. A direct hit severed communications and blew out a section of their very bunker. Dust and debris rained down, and the dim emergency lights flickered. Eleanor found herself pinned by a fallen beam, her satchel containing the deciphered German blueprints sliding out of reach. Anatoly, seemingly unfazed by the chaos, was already assessing the structural damage. He spotted Eleanor, his eyes momentarily widening with something akin to alarm. For a fleeting second, their professional masks slipped. He could have ignored her, prioritized his own escape, or even secured the critical intelligence for his own side without her input. Instead, without a word, he moved, With surprising strength, he heaved the beam, grunting with effort, freeing Eleanor. As she scrambled to retrieve her satchel, their eyes met. In that moment of raw survival, the shadow seemed to lift, revealing to individuals united by immediate danger. "The blueprints," she gasped, clutching the satchel. "They are paramount." He simply nodded, acknowledging the shared value of the intel, even if their ultimate goals for it diverged. Together, they navigated the ruined corridors, dodging falling debris, working as a unit to reach the reinforced Central Command, where fragmented communication lines were still active. They survived the attack, and the critical intelligence was relayed. The German fuel plant was eventually bombed, a collective victory. But the incident in the bunker, while a moment of shared humanity, also solidified Eleanor's understanding. Anatoly had helped her, not out of friendship, but out of a pragmatic recognition that her intelligence was necessary for their shared, immediate victory. The alliance was real, but it was transactional. As the war limped to its conclusion, the shadow deepened. Conversations became less about strategy against Germany and more about post-war zones of influence, about reparations, about the future of a divided Europe. Eleanor watched Anatoly depart for Moscow, his face as unreadable as ever. She knew he carried not just the scars of this war, but the seeds of the next. The victory over Nazism was undeniable, a triumph of coordinated effort. Yet the Allies' shadow had already fallen across the landscape, cool and foreboding. It was a premonition of the Iron Curtain, a silent agreement that even as they celebrated triumph over a common enemy, two powerful nations were already preparing for a different kind of war. A cold one, fought in the shadows, where trust was a luxury and suspicion a strategic necessity.